Well, so far, we have done such a great job, like having this room repainted and setting up a few things before we move out. Yes, I agree, Buzz. And until a buyer comes around, we'll relax, and we're gonna need a bit of relaxing because when we move, it's gonna be very busy and also very hectic.
So, while we're resting for the night, I feel like talking about a little something. Oh, what would you like to talk about, Sadness? Well, I feel like talking about, two certain shows, like family shows, like Thomas and Bob the Builder. Like examples of how people in, certain countries would be growing up differently in terms of watching the two shows and many other things in the world.
Hey, that's not a bad idea, Sadness. Yeah, that would be making some good examples of how children in different countries are growing up differently, with different things and holidays and dubs of shows.
Well, I'm glad you agree. And yes, how people would be growing up differently in different countries. Alright, I got the two shows, and I'm gonna lay them here and just talk about one of those examples I'm gonna talk about.
Oh, yep. This would be, like a little video, just to inform, just how, kids in the world would be growing up differently in different countries. Yeah, let's get to it.
Okay, so Thomas and Friends and Bob the Builder. In most international countries, they are best known for their UK dubs, with Neil Morrissey as Bob, and in the first two seasons of Thomas, Ringo Starr narrates them, and for a long while, the late Michael Angelis narrated the show in the UK dub. Everything you said right there is very true, Sadness. I'm glad you guys agree. So, in North America, like the United States and Canada, both shows would be dubbed in American English. Yeah, and lots of people around know that America is where many of us cartoon characters come from, with some that do come from the UK or different countries or even Australia. In Thomas the Tank Engine's case, George Carlin would narrate the first couple seasons, and at one point Alec Baldwin, who even played Mr. Conductor in Thomas and the Magic Railroad. And also, Michael Brandon narrated the later seasons. In Bob the Builder's case, there were different voices, but they're used for American English, of course. And yes, to most international audiences of both shows, especially Bob the Builder, with the North American dub, some of the aspects like the voices sounded kind of too young in some places, but that's really for opinion and for you to decide. It's not any real fact. Yeah, what I meant was, the voices for some of the characters sounded a bit younger, but it's for anyone to decide on what version they like best. And also, I like to also say, different kinds of holidays that most people would grow up differently. Like in America, in North America, the US and Canada, there would be Thanksgiving. But in most international countries give thanks in many different ways, to celebrate their homes. Even if they don't technically have the American Thanksgiving, but we do it in different ways. We do it in our way, the US way, and many other countries do it in different ways, in their versions of a giving thanks holiday.
Oh, yep. This would be, like a little video, just to inform, just how like kids in the world would be growing up differently in different countries. Yeah, let's get to it.
what you said is a good point, Sadness. And considering, yeah, and you put in that detail since that America is where me, Buzz, Woody, Wally, and you come from. Yeah, I'm very glad you all agree. And this is just like to inform that different countries and different cultures and different holidays and different English dubs, yeah, things would play out differently and the way people grow up differently. And yeah, it's how it works.
Yeah, you have very good points, Sadness. Yeah, and like you said before about like the US, like they have their Thanksgiving and Canada has theirs. And also like and in different countries like around the world, they do it like their ways of like different kinds of like doing things. Like a similar thing, but like with a different name. Yeah, that's true, Woody.
Yeah, I think this is all. I think I've done enough here. And I'll put these two back and we can relax and we can go back to relaxing. Ah.